Hello, hello. All right. Oops, let's see what we got here. All right, we're letting everybody in, getting ready to go. All right, anybody have anything exciting happen this week that they'd like to share? People in here. Any great eclipse viewing today? Nothing worth mentioning, huh? Oh, Jennifer, yeah.
I tried, but as soon as I noticed in my windows, I was like, oh, it's coming. I went outside and it clouded over. So I couldn't see anything.
So you didn't quite make it, huh? Oh, you're muted again. Sorry.
I don't know if it was visible at all or if it just I don't know, slightly covered it. But yeah, it was mostly cloud cover, so that was kind of sad.
Oh man, did anybody see anything at all? Nothing, huh?
My husband's in Washington, D.C. right now. He says he got to see it. It was like
Oh,
99% covered, not 100, but
wow.
didn't realize he was going to be able to see it today.
That's pretty cool. Wow. So went dark in Washington, D.C. Awesome. Yeah. All right. Well, anybody else? Anything interesting? Yeah, not a big group today, which is, not the worst thing, I guess. A little more intimate. We can talk about things. Um, this morning, I made a joke about the eclipse at the staff meeting about how there's all these conspiracy theories going around, and how I had one guy come over to my house talking to me about how the moon is covering the sun and what an idiot that guy was. And just goes to show where I'm at with BCA staff. Everybody's looking at me horrified, like I am a moron. I loved it. It was so funny. You know who didn't love it though was my wife. She's like, "Why do you not just tell everybody you're joking?" It's like, because it's the joy. It's the joy of planting false hoods in people's minds and just walking away. Isn't that everybody? No? Okay, it's just me. Well, anyway, so no eclipse jokes. I'm trying to save my marriage here. I'm smarter than I look. My wife wanted me to say that too. She didn't marry an idiot. Now that YouTube knows, we can start the meeting. All right. So, what do we got on our books today? We got some things to talk about. Number one, I wanted to just touch base about state testing. Did anybody have any good, bad, or worth mentioning experiences about state testing last week? We do have a slightly different thing going on this week. Obviously, we're not pulling or we're not using cohort time this week for state testing, but hey, I thought I'd check in. Any reports, good, bad, or otherwise, or questions about the state test? Any thoughts on the big group testing this year? Did that seem to go well? You hated it? Kids were excited to be with other children suffering? Or,
I can jump in.
here we go. Yes, we got someone.
Okay. I do have an actual video I can turn on to if you really want to see what I look like. Hi everyone. I'm just at
Hey,
work.
hello.
My kids are juniors and they just some of it they haven't had for a while, like some of the, just depending on what classes they're taking. So my son was like, I haven't had science for a real long time. So whatever my point being that it has taken them the 2 full days and they still aren't done. so,
Oh,
so
no.
they'll go back, which is fine. They only have a little bit left. They just didn't quite finish it. So
Mhm.
depending on where they were at when they came in to the testing with what knowledge they had or whatever, I think it's just taken them a bit longer. But they've had no complaints as far, I mean, they like the snacks. They didn't say anything about the group setting, but they haven't complained about it. So I take that
Yeah.
as a good thing. So anyway, it's going well. They'll go on this coming Friday to finish up, but it just, that was the thing. It might take longer than you think. That's definitely what I thought. They'll be there a day probably and finish it. And I was like, oh, or 3. So it's my 2 cents.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense that the green kids would be that way, because we have heard reports going the other way where kids are like, I did awesome. I finished the whole test before anyone else. It's like, okay, but that wasn't really the point. I mean, I know you don't want to be there and just kind of click through, but slowing down's probably a good thing as well. So
Yeah, mine are slowing it way down, so we're good.
taking it serious. That's good. All right. Well, thank you. Anybody else? Any thoughts? Okay. Well, again, this week we're doing normal cohorts, so you need to sign up for a time if you are wanting to do the state testing this week. It will still be in the same locations. It's just not during cohort time, preferably. Yeah, Jennifer.
Oh, I just noticed there's some notes in the chat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, let's see. We got they were fine with the group, but they said the internet troubles were annoying. Ooh. Now, I wonder if that was, were you in the first day? Because I know the first day there was some problems, but I didn't hear about any internet problems any other days. So I was curious if you were there the first day or if that was actually every day. So let me know. There was some grumbling about the Wi-Fi issues. Yeah. Other than that, it seemed to go fine. Okay. Yeah, is there any ways to get the results? Yes, you can get the results, but just not soon, because that we have to wait. They run all the results, maybe the end of the year, but those aren't the final results. They don't give the final results till, I think Jamie said August or September. So yeah, first day testing. Yeah, that was rough. You know what solved it all though is we just unplugged it and plugged it back in, and whoo, magic. So tech guy showed me that one time. All right, thank you. Well, don't forget, April 15th is coming up, and that is reimbursement day, the last day to turn, and you can turn it in on the 15th, right, Rachel?
Yes.
So that's the last day to turn in reimbursements for the year. So dust off all of those receipts for second semester and get those turned in. That is next week. When is the 15th?
A week from today.
Yeah,
Wow.
it will be Monday next week.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So definitely keep that in mind. The other thing here, I'm just checking my list. We've got a few high school things that you need to know about. And that is that we've got upcoming events, curriculum meetings. We've got personal growth projects and purpose and direction projects. And then we've got our all the high school work that is due May 24th, and then our graduation. So let's walk through those a little slower here. Curriculum meetings, that is where you come in person and you meet with each of our subject area specialists. Do you want to tell us a little bit about how that's going to run, Jessica? It's such a great thing that we do.
Yeah, so for specific days that you can find in the family email if you
And
haven't.
I'll let them know right now what those are after you give
Yeah.
the overview.
Our whole high school teaching team is going to be in person on campus, meeting with families to select curriculum for next year. So we'll be building the PCS. So early for Bend, we do Bend campus next week on the 18th and the 19th.
Mhm.
And then the Lowell campus will be the 2 weeks following, so the last week of April and the first week of May. There is sign up links in the family email. If you have not signed up for a time slot yet, please do so. They get particularly full, these curriculum meeting days. So it's not really something you can just show up for. We might not be able to fit you in. So definitely sign up for a time slot to arrive.
Yep. And if you're driving 30 minutes to come to this curriculum meeting, just know that you're signing up for a 10-minute start window. That doesn't mean that your curriculum meeting is going to only be 10 minutes. It's not a 30-minute drive for a 10-minute meeting. It's just that they're staggering people's start times by 10 minutes. So don't get too discouraged by that.
Yep, you can stay and meet with our teachers as long as you need to after that start time.
Awesome. Any questions about that particular thing or any other thing? Hey, Marina, what's up?
Yeah, is that for incoming ninth graders as well, Jessica?
Yep.
Okay.
Incoming ninth graders should be signing up for, as well as any eighth graders planning on taking high school classes next year. If they're already approved, they can also take advantage of these curriculum meetings and just get their classes for the specific high school classes they've chosen.
And if you don't know you're approved, then you would go to your curriculum. I'm sorry, you would go to your learning coordinator, correct? Awesome. Okay, again, any questions about the high school curriculum meetings coming up? That was in Bend, the 18th and the 19th, and in Lowell, the 25th, the 26th, and then May 2nd and 3rd. So a lot of dates there. Just need to pick one, sign up, and enjoy. Okay, so we've got our personal growth projects. If you're in the 9th, oh, let me just make sure to chat. Yeah, somebody said they thought it was going to be the fastest curriculum meeting that they ever had. Awesome.
We were a little worried about that misconception.
Okay, and then the zoo field trip next Monday. It says starts at 11 on the form. Do you know when we can arrive earlier, and if that time is flexible? So I'll let somebody look into that while I finish these high school announcements, and then we'll address the field trip question. So purpose and direction project or your personal growth project. Personal growth projects for 9th and 10th grade, and 11th and 12th graders are doing their purpose and direction project. The actual presentations are going to be similar though, right? And those are happening the 14th and the 15th. Are parents invited to come? Families invited to come?
Yes, we absolutely encourage you to come and support your student, to watch their presentation. We do like having members of the audience to ask our students questions about their projects, and really give a full presentation experience for them. One thing to note about that week, the 14th and the 15th, we will not be having regular cohorts or bridge classes that day. So by that time in the year, students are done with science labs, they're done with their writing bridge classes. All that's left is for them to come to campus and give their final presentation, watch some of their peers give their presentations. They try to make it a fun day with snacks and making it kind of a fun final event for our high school students on campus this year.
Awesome.
Students will sign up for a presentation time when we get closer, and so they'll know what time to be on campus ready to present.
Wonderful. And then May 24th, which is right around the corner. That's insane. Everything is due. That's
Yep.
it. That's the final deadline.
Last day of school, May 24th, just a good reminder for our high school families that that's the end of everything for the school year. So all assignments should be turned in by then so that students can get their final transcripts and grades for the year.
All right, and then June 1st is our graduation ceremony. Yeah, I still need to check with Lowell to make sure that we've got that covered. Nope, just kidding, Jessica. It's all good to go. I'm on it. So they have confirmed. We got the gym, and actually that was such a great location, the Lowell High School gym for our graduation. It holds a lot of people. It is a bummer for our Bend families. I'm so sorry about the drive. But again, it was a really great location to have everybody there. Any high school questions at all? Anything on your mind? We've got Jessica here, and I am sure that she would love to answer any questions we have. All right. Well, how are we doing on that field trip question? Do we need a little more time to get an answer to whether or not we can get to the zoo a little bit earlier than 11, or is 11 the time?
I have the answer.
Woo!
You have to be there at 11. Unfortunately, we can't do earlier or later. You have to be there at 11 on the dot. The whole entire group has to be there at the same time to receive the wristbands and enter it at the same time.
Okay. All right, that's good to know. Thank you so much, Lisa.
You're welcome.
Okay. Well, that concludes all of my rapid fire announcements. I do have a bigger topic that I'd like to talk to you guys about. But before I do want to open it up to anything that is on your mind that you would like to ask about. Anything at all? All right. Well, then let's get maybe a topic that's a little more controversial. Maybe get some response, get people's heart rate up. It'll be good. We need to talk about childcare. But when I say childcare, I am very much talking about Lowell childcare specifically. So, hey, you are a Bend family. I want you to participate in this discussion, but just know this is really what we're talking about is specific to the Lowell campus. Now, for those of you that know the history of our Lowell Child Care, it has been a service that we have had since the beginning of the BCA. In some form or another, we've had somebody watching kids so that parents could come onto campus and could socialize with other parents, could do some planning, can just take a break. The idea was that you were with your kids at home, working on schoolwork and doing whatever you're doing. And once a week, there would be a sweet reprieve for your students when they're in cohort to be away from you and for you to be away from them. And not only the students that were enrolled in the program, but also your younger kids as well. And we would watch them in some way, some capacity. And that grew into an awesome childcare, and it almost became like a preschool program to a certain extent, nothing official, but there was a lot of great education happening. It was a very expensive program, and we talked about this last time when we were making some changes. Not only was it expensive, but it also took some precious space from our campus that was something that we really needed as our high school program was growing, as other aspects of our program were maturing. And I know some people were very disappointed with the decision that we made to move our childcare across the way to Busy Bees. Busy Bees is a licensed daycare and not so much a preschool, but they have done, for the most part, a good job watching the kids over there. I know everybody has had different experiences. what I can say about Busy Bees is that it did allow us to free up some space over here at the school that we were able to use for things like our curriculum fair, and we did our Scholastic book fair there as well. We will have a dedicated space here soon for some high schoolers to hang out. So it really did help out a lot. And it ended up being less expensive than running our own program. So here we are again at the end of the year, and I'm looking at our BCA, and I'm trying to figure out what is the next direction? Where do we want to go? And one thing that I came across was a little bit of an issue with our childcare that I wanted to throw out, and I'm just curious your perspective. And I really appreciate you coming to this meeting so that you could give me some feedback. Our childcare currently serves about 25 families. And that is maybe up a little bit or maybe down, but it's right in the range of how many families we served when we had our childcare on campus as well. So that didn't really change. So 25 families out of, I believe it's 160 families that we have at our Lowell campus. So 25 out of 160. And go ahead, please.
I thought it was 260, but maybe I'm
260,
wrong.
Ben.
Oh,
I think
yes.
it's 260.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. 260 families, but 25 of them are utilizing the childcare, and it was the same amount that were utilizing it when it was on campus. So we did, some have chosen not to use Busy Bees, but then others have since joined. So it's kind of evened out. And what it cost us to serve those 25 families and give this free childcare is about $100,000 a year. And again, that was still cheaper than what we were doing when we were running our own program. And so the real question that I have, and this is what I want to open up for discussion, is number one, I really believe it's an amazing perk that the BCA has offered throughout the years. There's not any doubt about that. Now, we've done it better and worse depending on the year, but at the end of the day, a free offering where for 3 hours you can drop your kids off and just be is amazing. But I'm looking at 25 families out of 260, and I'm looking at $100K that I'm spending, and I'm really just wondering if that money is best used for this service, or if it would be better to be put into what we are doing for our current students, things like our curriculum team, our growth team, our our teaching staff. So I just want to hear from you at this point. I'm not trying to convince you of anything, just laying out the facts of where I am at, and I would love any feedback that you have. So anybody want to share your thoughts, maybe the your experience with childcare, or your concerns about it going away, or ARS? What do we got?
Sorry, it's Allison. I'm on a different device today.
Okay.
So I'm just curious. I'm in Bend, so this doesn't necessarily. I use the childcare in Bend, and I'm super grateful for it.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, how is that $100,000 broken down?
Yeah. So we I mean, I don't have all of the numbers there for you, but we do pay for certain amount of slots per cohort time for Busy Bees. And then families would sign up for those slots and they would utilize the service. And for the most part, those slots are filled up with those 25 families. I mean, a family can have more than one kid,
Right.
but yeah, that's how it was. Now, it was more expensive to run it here, and part of that is because we were paying for not only the staffing costs, which was, I think we had at any given time 5 childcare employees, but then also the materials and snacks. We were providing diapers and all of those things as well. So it actually ended up being more expensive than that to run it ourselves. But anyway, I hope that answers your question. If you wanted more detail, I'd be happy to give you what I can.
No, I was just curious if that 100,000 was, so how many kids? You say 25 families, but how many actual kids?
Yeah.
Is it 50 kids? Is it 2 per family? Is it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Rachel, what was our cap that we
Well,
had?
I actually think it's 24 kids, but 21 families.
Oh, it's 21 families. Oh, okay. Sorry. So 24 kids. Okay. Now, yeah. Any other questions, Allison, or any?
No, I'm just a numbers person. I'm just thinking.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not doubting how amazing the service is. It is just hard when you have to decide whether or not something is the biggest priority
Right.
or not. And that's where, I don't know, but Alyssa's going to clear this up. Alyssa, what do you think?
I'm gonna make it more complicated.
Woo!
One question though first, how many, or does that 21 or however many families is using it, does that include the staff families that use it?
It does not, no.
Okay. So, couple of things just to add to consideration is
Yes, please.
staff retention, but then also family kind of incentives for starting with BCA, because my family doesn't currently use that, but that was one of the major things that attracted us to BCA. 3 out of my 4 kids have been through that childcare program, and they're all graduated out of it, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we would have joined when my oldest was in kindergarten without that program in place. So just kind of to put that out there, that I think that it aids in attracting new families, especially at a younger age.
Mhm.
And then they tend to, like, I don't know what the retention rate is of those families. Like over the years, do they stick with BCA and then they, continue on like we have? Or so I think that should be worth considering the value of the childcare program as well.
Yeah, I agree. And obviously if 21 families left because of childcare, that would be a really sad thing for the BCA. But at the same time, it's not just about next year. If we made this move, it would be every year after that. It's hard. And we had a discussion this morning, again, not me trying to tell anybody the right answer, but just throwing it out to our staff about whether or not this really was a key component of our program or not. And there was all kinds of views, and I really appreciated the lively discussion that we had. And so now I'm coming to you to really hear where you're at before we make a firm decision. Now, somebody says here, if we decide to go away from childcare, okay, were there more people utilizing childcare when it was on campus? Oh, sorry, the chat jumped up and now I'm reading two different comments. Let me start with the first one again. If we decide that we need to go away from childcare, we would need, on the local campus at least, to have a different setup for parents. If parents will need to have little ones with them, the current setup will not be adequate. You know what? I absolutely agree with that statement. I'm gonna give a little thumbs up, because I don't think that we can just take away and then continue as we're continuing. Anybody that's been in the current parent center, it's beautiful, it's wonderful, but it is not set up for everyone to be there with their kids. So we'd have to talk about what alternatives could look like. So that's a great point. Thank you, Lauren. Sarah says, were there more people utilizing childcare when it was on campus at the BCA? We were utilizing it when it was on campus, but then stopped utilizing it when it switched to Busy Bees. It was something that attracted me originally to going through Bridge Charter. Yeah, I know that's the story. A lot of people have said that was a selling point for them to come to Bridge Charter. But I was actually surprised to find out that it was like our numbers were the same when we were utilizing, or when we had the offering on campus versus across the street. It's not the same people. Like, some people did drop off and decided not to utilize Busy Bees, but then other people decided to utilize the service. So I believe those numbers have stayed the same. And it's always been about 20, 25. I don't remember what the cap is that the other child care program had. I don't know if you remember, Rachel, off the top of your head, but I know it seemed like it was in the 20 range. But I could be wrong.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact number myself, but it has kind of just been a balance. It's been kind of a few joined and few left, and
Yeah.
it's all balanced out from what we had before, but I can't remember the
Sure.
exact number, but the amount of students in there is about the same that I recall.
Yeah. So yeah, so I mean, I would think, like, the story that I would tell myself if I didn't know anything else is like, okay, we had an awesome service on campus. We go to Busy Bees, and yeah, of course people don't utilize it, and then it's just the next step is just to get rid of it. But actually that's not the case. Yes, we had an awesome service at the BCA. Nobody's denying that program was excellent, but still, we have a lot of families utilizing the Busy Bees, but it still comes down to 420, and I originally said 25 families, but maybe it's 21 is what Rachel was saying. At 100K, is that worth the investment when that money could be utilized elsewhere? That's what I'm wrestling with right now. And it's not just about money. Like, I'm not putting it into the Ben Celebi bonus, but it is, in a sense, you have to, you take resources from kindergarten through 12th grade and you reallocate them to students that are not yet, and maybe aren't ever going to be in our program. So that's what I'm wrestling with. Okay. If the school goes away from Busy Bees, do you know if they have a part-time service where parents can pay for the 3 hours still? Now that I do know the answer to, and yes, they can. They do have that service. You can do a drop-in service, and like, this decision hasn't even been made yet. So we're just talking right now, but I do know, just in the normal operations, they don't only accept Bridge Charter students. They do have other kids there. All right, so somebody says, I think it's an amazing service, but the costs go up, and it's so hard as it would. It's costs go up, and as hard as it would be cutting that service. Oh no, my chat keeps jumping up. Cutting the service would be better to better utilize the money for kids in the school might be the best option. Bree says, I don't feel like I have much say in this and never utilize the childcare. To me, though, those extra funds put towards the students could be huge. But I definitely agree that without childcare, the parent center would be potentially a tad crazy. All right, well, let's talk about this. Maybe not everybody is utilizing our childcare, but you do, at least a lot of you have been at the Lowell, have been in the Lowell child care bill, not child care, the parent center, and you know what it can get like there. If we were just thinking outside of the box, and again, we're not committing to anything, but what would be the best thing, assuming that we went away from childcare? And again, not a foregone conclusion, but having a space for parents with kids, having a quiet space. I mean, any thoughts there? Any idea, people? Oh, here we go. Staff areas would be set separate from the parent center. Okay, now by staff areas, you're talking about the parent liaisons. Is that what that means? Assuming that's what you're talking about. Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's a hard thing. It really is, because there's two ways of looking at it. Having the parent liaisons with the people makes them the most valuable, in the sense that, like, as a parent, you can just get up and go walk over to the desk. But all that business happening when you're trying to talk, and it does take up a lot of space, it makes sense that is hard. And then if they were put somewhere else and you actually wanted to conduct some BCA business, you know, the walk across the parking lot isn't a terrible thing, but it's like a give and take, right? You get some positives from it, and then there's the negatives. But hey, let's talk to a real life parent liaison. Woo, Jennifer.
No, I just had some thoughts on I do like the current setup of the parent center, especially at Lowell, where
Yeah.
like Linda and I are kind of separated a little bit.
Uh-huh.
We have that one area, so if parents do need to come up and ask questions, they have space. And then we have that separated off area where parents, if they do have their kiddos with them, they do have that like area where we can shut the door if need be. But I will use an example that when Busy Bees had to close early the other day because the
Yeah.
roof was leaking, it was pretty chaotic in the parent center. And I also don't know if it was just that chaotic because it was also state testing that day.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be a bad idea to have like an on-site area where we could have like maybe I know it was mentioned this morning, like parent volunteers to do like on-site childcare with volunteers, and parents could volunteer. And then, but having the separate area where parents who are coming to work in the parent center is helpful, especially near Linda. And I think so. I think it's helpful to have them near where Linda and I are.
Yeah. Yeah, I have reflected a little bit on the volunteer piece from this morning. Although it sounds really good on paper, I think the problem is just the liability of having a parent watch somebody else's kids. You know, at least what we got over here is a licensed thing. Yes, that doesn't guarantee that you're gonna anything, but you know, there are standards that they have to be held to, and to have parents in a room, even if there was a background check, the liability there would be really rough. But to have a room that was kid friendly with some toys and all of that, where parents could talk while their kids were engaged with something, makes sense to me. And then having a separate area where those that were just wanting, maybe they didn't have kids with them, could interact and conduct either BCA business or do their own planning or things like that, would potentially be good. But I am open to thoughts and suggestions, or somebody to back up the conversation and say, wait a minute, I still hate this idea and I want to voice that. So Gonna just see here. It would be great to have some outside activities too. Yeah, that actually is really true. I know when we had childcare on campus, there was a whole section down there in the field that was it was a padlock at one time that said childcare only. I don't know if anybody ever got yelled at for playing down there. I did. Just like, get out of here. But it would be great to have some yeah, like you said, outside activities for those kids. Yes, I love what Roz said. If we are going to have kids in there, maybe a place without stairs, there's a thought. Although that could also be a fun activity. Cornhole, basketballs, hula hoops, all very, very good suggestions. Yeah, to invest in some equipment, but we've got to be careful that whatever we invest in can be done in a spot that is out of the parking lot, because we do have cars and things like that. Space is a problem at the BCA. There's no doubt about that, especially BCA Lowell. We dream about your Bend campus and that huge parking lot that you have, and all that outdoor space and indoor space. And it's a pretty sweet setup. If anybody hasn't seen BCA Bend, it is a nice facility. In fact, for state testing, just to make everybody jealous, they have this huge community room where everybody can test at the BCA right there, don't have to go anywhere. You know what they do here in Lowell, Bend, people? They kick you out to go down the street to some sketchy building over there in the bad part of Lowell. No, there's no bad part of Lowell. All right, that was another one that my wife says don't do. I'm sorry. I was a joke. It was a joke. All right, well, here's what I want to do. You probably all have friends that utilize childcare. So this week, as you're at the BCA and you're talking with your friends, spread the word. We didn't get a lot of people to participate here. I hope you would tell them both sides of the issue, just not that, oh, they're planning on shutting the whole thing down. It really is more thoughtful than that. We do care about those families that are utilizing the service. We know it is a huge benefit to those families. I really do understand that. I just wonder, 21 families or 21, 21 students is what it was, right? 21 students. I got confused in there.
21 families,
21
students.
24 students, got it. 21 families, and the price tag is a little bit over 100,000 for the BCA for the year. And that's rough. Okay, yes. Farnsworth.
Hi. Just really quick. So that basically breaks down to about like what, 5 or 6 kids a day?
Let's see here. Yeah.
So my question being, if it's basically $100,000 a year for that, is it really going to cause that much of a disturbance in the parent center to have 4 to 5 little ones a week?
Yeah. I think if we left everything as is, right, we didn't rearrange anything, and we just, the parent center was the parent center, and the stairs and all of that was in play. I think so, because it is 21 students, but they're really compacted into 3 days. It really is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday that childcare is really used for the most part. And so, already with high schoolers being on campus on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, it can get chaotic already. So I'm thinking it probably would if we didn't change something.
Right. But, you know,
Yeah.
if there's a possibility of making, I know no, we didn't. But are we turning the old childcare center into kind of a teenager area?
For this year, yes, we're definitely looking at because obviously we're thinking along these lines. So then the question is, what are we going to change if we made this decision to accommodate that change? What
Yeah.
would make the most sense at the BCA? And you know, we can't add buildings at this point for next year, but we can look at the buildings that we do use and say, are we utilizing those buildings to the full capacity? And I'd say right now there is some room for improvement. I think if we did some rearranging, the space that we currently have could be better utilized for the amount of people that we're serving here at the BCA Lowell campus. Okay, somebody says if there was no more childcare offered, I would like to see the savings after paying for more child-friendly spaces go directly to students, like increased allotment. Yeah, I think that is an exciting idea. And that would directly impact students. But I think that the value of our program, and you know, you could disagree with me, really is in the support services that we are offering. Again, the curriculum team really working on good curriculum choices and helping families to come up with those robust choices. Our growth team that has gone from just people that were good at math and reading and writing to licensed teachers that are working with students to really help get them from here to there. And those support services do directly benefit students as well, but not in the way that you're saying here, which I understand. More allotment would be great. It would be more things like, you know, ballet lessons and things like that, which would be good. All right, here we go. I'm going to put my phone number in the chat. The best time to call me if you are angry about this decision is, you know, at night, middle of the night, random phone calls and text would be great. But if you really do want to talk, give me a call or you can email me. I am really trying to get back to people on my email, but as I say that, I'm already remembering one email that I've got to return here. That's why I put the number there, ch.com. But I'd love to hear your feedback. The more that we can hear from you, the better and more well-rounded our decision will be as a BCA leadership team. So again, go talk to your friends, let them know that they should contact or come to the next parent meeting, and we can certainly continue this conversation. So not trying to hide anything, actually the opposite, putting it all out there before that decision gets finalized. So any other questions, comments, or concerns? Okay. Well, until next time, the link to this meeting will be in the Friday email. So you can also share that with somebody who is wanting the full discussion on where we're at as well. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. Until next time. Bye-bye.